Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Tom Jensen. My guest this week is Pat Lothspike. Pat is an outreach biologist with Game and Fish. We're going to talk about the RAP auction. RAP, of course, stands for Report All Poachers, and the auction is a result of some of the tips that come in on this line. First of all, Pat, today let's talk about how the RAP line works and what it is.
Right, the Report All Poaching program began in 1983 in North Dakota, and it's a program that other states and Canada has as well as we do. And it's a program where that if a person either witnesses an actual hunting, fishing, trapping violation, or hears about one just in conversation in some public place or something, they can use a toll-free number, 1-800-472-2121. They can report that information and remain anonymous if they want, and they can also, if on their option, get a reward for their information that they turned in.
We talked about this before. Most people don't even claim the rewards. They're more interested in doing their civic duty.
Right. At least 75-80% of the calls that come in are just calls that people are concerned about a particular violation out there, and they just want the information passed in to the enforcement personnel so that they can take care of it. They're not interested at all in any kind of a monetary reward.
One thing that we should talk about a little bit, Pat, is if you plan to do that or you witness a violation, don't confront these people yourself. Call the line, let law enforcement take care of it. Right?
Absolutely. The best thing to do is just sit back and take in information. Try to gather as much information about that particular violation as they can. If it involves a vehicle, like the make, model, color, license plate number is huge. If they can get that, we've got a good chance of finding the people involved there. And then any description of the individuals that are participating in that particular violation, get descriptions. And any information they get is important. And then the key is the sooner they call it in, the better. And today's world with cell phones, they sometimes, while the violation is happening, they're calling in right now and they're giving that law enforcement officer that information.
Once in a while, the result of one of these tips actually results in confiscated equipment, correct?
Right. Some of the violations, especially if they're serious ones, confiscation of equipment is quite common. It could be a firearm, it could be fishing equipment, it could be traps. Maybe an ATV, sometimes even a snowmobile or motor vehicle. But it's part of the penalty basically for poaching or illegally taking fish and game in North Dakota.
The confiscated items are then put up for auction.
Right. The North Dakota Wildlife Federation, we work with them cooperatively in putting on an auction to sell all this equipment, and typically every 3 to 4 years, depends on how much equipment is collected over the years, and we have a auction to sell to the highest bidder, and 100% of the proceeds goes back to fund the Report All Poaching program. We use that money to pay out rewards and doing a lot of promotion of that program.
What kind of items can people expect to find at a RAP auction?
Well, firearms is probably the biggest thing. In this one we've got coming up here in a few weeks, there's over 60 firearms, handguns, rifles, shotguns. There's archery equipment. There's a ton of tree stands. There's knives, coolers, an ATV, snowmobile. So these are just some of the things that will be on auction.
This isn't necessarily a place where people can find great bargains. I know a lot of auctions, of course, but oftentimes people come back to buy their confiscated equipment, things like that.
Right.
But there are some items that you can get a good deal on.
Right. You're exactly right. The firearms go for at least what they're worth. Oftentimes they do go for a little bit higher because some of the people that have lost those firearms have come back, and they're going to pay whatever it takes to get them back, because it's maybe been part of the family for a number of years, and so they're going to get them back. But otherwise, the other stuff, the tree stands, potentially the ATV or snowmobile, some coolers. It's a good place to pick up maybe a fishing rod and reel and other things at a reasonable price.
You mentioned before, Pat, that they happen every 3 or 4 years whenever you happen to to accumulate enough items to auction off. There is one coming up in a couple of weeks. Where and when?
Yes. Our next auction is going to be May 20th. It's on a Saturday. It's going to be up at the State Fair Center. The doors open for the public at 10 a.m., which will then allow them to come in and look at all the merchandise that's going to be up for auction. And then at 12 noon, the auction starts.
All right, let's talk about where the funds from the auction go.
Right. Well, the majority of the funds go to help pay for the informants that pass this information to help catch poachers, the rewards. But otherwise, we use a lot of the money in promotional items. There could be a billboard, it could be a radio ad, it could be a magazine ad. We buy a bunch of giveaway items like pens and pencils and canned koozies and calendars and things like this that we give out to the public at public events, so that the number is there to call, 1-800-472-2121, and just to encourage people to call in if they hear about something or actually witness it.
All right, Pat, thanks.
Thank you.
Here are those numbers once again for the wrap line if you happen to witness what you think is a game and fish violation. And as Pat said, don't confront the violator yourself. Take down as much information as you can, things like a physical description, clothing, boat numbers, or a license plate. Call the wrap line and let law enforcement take care of it. And once again, don't forget about the wrap auction coming up Saturday, May 20th at the State Fair Center in Minot. Doors open at 10 a.m. so you can view the merchandise, and the auctions start at noon. For Pat Lothspike and the rest of the staff here at North Dakota Game and Fish, thanks for joining us for Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.